I think the numbers you shared, Jeroen, are really mind-blowing. I don't think AXA is in the room tonight, but they were telling me up to 2-3 months ago, they were allowing people to come to their office only 5 days per month. And so a lot of people were only coming the first 5 days of the first week and then never coming back to the office. So it's really changing a lot. So I think these numbers are very important. Okay, let's kick off my part. I would like first to share a bit of perspective on what happened globally on the PropTech space last year. The key numbers we should always remind are, of course, 40% CO2 emissions come from our sector. Should we again repeat it? What maybe we forget is that there is close to $21 trillion, which is like 25% of the total value of real estate, which is at risk, exposed to climate hazards today. So it's really a lot. By 2050, we'll have twice more demand of electric power than we have today, but we have a super old electric infrastructure, aged of more than 50 years, that we need to work on, etc., etc., etc. So a lot of big numbers, a lot of big problems, a lot of big challenges this year and in general. If we looked at the amount of venture capital money that was invested in our space, built world technologies, built environment technologies, or innovations in general, we see that we decreased this year by something like 7% compared to last year. We never overpassed the peak of 21. And we see more specifically that the only stage of maturity of startups that raised more capital, actually the stage of maturity that attracted less money was actually Series A. And if we compare Europe to US, we can see that basically in Europe, and we do almost as many deals as we do in US. The only thing is that we often invest earlier stage, and so you see on the second graph the later stage, Series C and plus. So you see that the number of deals is way lower, and of course then the capital deployed is way lower. The cities that had the highest counts of deal are London, which is not a surprise because in Europe you have 3,500 startups and 900 are based in London out of these 3.5, so it's not a big surprise. But so these are the key numbers. And we saw from a very interesting report of NOAA, the Good Friends, one of the biggest PropTech fund of Europe, this new way to define what PropTech is. So instead of explaining its 5 categories, 47 innovation themes, etc., which creates a very fragmented overview. So the general contractor only focus in design and build, the broker only in market and transact, etc. So it creates a lot of silos. Maybe we could look at it in another way, which is the which is the impact dimension of it. And so I really love this overview, this vision of redefining what matters. So you can have 3 different types of innovations. Enabling tech, so these are technologies that will allow to accelerate impact, but these are, it's not the core business of these solutions to create impact. You can have the impact catalyst, which will really accelerate impact, but which are still focused on for profit, on generating revenue. And then you have the impact native. These are the new products, the new services, which were designed to really have an impact. This was the #1 reason why these solutions were defined. And so we see, if we do the exercise of splitting all of the solutions, all of the PropTech solutions in these 3 categories, we see on the first graph, the last graph here, that the impact native solutions are getting more and more traction. And for me, that's very interesting because I remember a couple of years ago, investors would never invest in low carbon materials or hardware, etc. It was not interesting. But then they understood that they will not solve climate change with software. They also need to invest in less VC fundable kind of things. And so we see that it's a big trend. Moving on, and I will maybe skip this. So there are some themes that have been attracting more money, this year compared to last year, some themes that are attracting less money. So this is a bit of an helicopter view of the world. Now let's look at what happened in our ecosystem. So At the level of PropTech Lab, we started to expand a bit. So we launched, we did a partnership with Luxembourg 2 years ago, and then this year we also joined with Czechia. So today we have members from 23 countries already, but with a big concentration, of course, in Belgium. And if we look at who are the members, so we see that the average startups and scale-ups have 19 employees, while the average construction and real estate corporates have more than 800 employees. Of course, you have type of basics with 15,000 people, so we should maybe look at the median and not the average. But these are the numbers. So these are the people that potentially you can engage with through the network, so it's huge numbers. If we look at the fundraisings, we saw that historically the current members, startups and scale-ups, so 183, I believe, raised 263 million so far, historically. And so we see the biggest fundraisings this year, which was Coloc Housing, Skyson, Enki, and then Fixed Form. And the most important findings this year regarding the members came from this big survey that we made. So we've been harassing every single of you. Please do this video, please do this video. And the purpose was really to understand how we can serve you better, how we can have more value. And we came with very interesting findings. First, the words that resonate for you were mainly community, innovation, networking. There were a lot of other comments. Some of them are positive, some of them are, let's say, encouraging to improve. My favorite one was authenticity. I was also surprised by the last one, that you can ask yourself why. And for me, the most mind-blowing takeaway of this big survey was why are startups struggling to collaborate with corporates, and why are corporates struggling to collaborate with startups. So startups struggle because it's a long and complex sales cycle. Okay, this we know, right? It's 6 to 8 months, usually in construction and real estate. First reason. Second reason, it's the mindset of corporates, which is risk averse. I will not take any risk, I can't afford to fail, etc. And then the lack of urgency. So there is no fear of missing out, there is no sense of urgency. I can do this now, or in 6 months, or in 1 year, doesn't matter. And for the corporates, the number one is the lack of time. So they don't have the time to innovate. They don't have the time to consider alternatives, options, etc. And then navigating between too many startups. And so for me, this means also that they don't have the time to understand, to compare, etc., etc. So it's the same. So it's almost 50% of the problems that were mentioned is related to time. So we want to know how we can improve that and how we can play a role in filtering. Here we have more details on the other reasons, but I will skip it. And then the biggest priorities that corporates have mentioned are the biggest problems that they have today, not related to collaboration with startups, were also very interesting. So number one, selling projects. So we know what the economy is, of course. Be affordable, so it's related to selling project, I guess. And then the financial feasibility. So they can't innovate, they can be too sustainable sometimes, because otherwise the bank don't want to finance their project. And so they need to show good margins, etc., to be able to be financed. So these, I would say, Horizon 1 problems, these problems of today, of survival, etc., are not connected to the Horizon 2, Horizon 3 problems that I started my talk with, which is the renovation, the decarbonization, and things like this. And so I think we really see a split between the problems of today, the pains of today, and the problems of tomorrow that are not priority for corporates today. And sometimes the startups focus on these long-term problems and not on the day-to-day problems. And so to improve this, and I will skip it because I don't have time. And to finish, my personal takeaway of the year was about the choices. We make every single day something like 35,000 choices, or selections, or decisions, which is really a lot. And the place we are today is a bit of the consequence of all of the choices that we made in our life, of course. And the place we will land in the future will depend on the choice we make. And the biggest regrets people have in their life usually are these top 10 here. The first one is not taking enough risks. So about the risk-averse topic, right? Second is not spending enough time with the loved ones, and then not taking better care of our own health. So this year I revisited for the third time or fourth time this book from Robert Greene about the 47 laws of power, you know, and thinking about this idea of choice, you can use this book either to manipulate people, to be the puppet master and to be trying to dominate, etc. Or you can use it to be a guardian against it, to understand when there is techniques like this applied, etc. You have to decide, and it's not a one-time choice. You have to do the choice every single day because life is full of decisions. It's fluid. It's full of crossroads. Every time we have to select. And in fact, it's like a real estate project. From the same starting point, you can either decide that you do yourself the stuff siloed with your own, like be happy, be hidden, and not collaborate, etc. Or you can decide to engage and try to reach the full potential of innovation. And so from the same starting point, depending on the philosophy and the approach, you can either elevate the project, create additional impact, create additional value, or you can level down. And for me, that's really value destruction. You don't exploit the full potential. So I think we really have to change the mindset. And the solutions are here. There are a lot of different solutions available. Sometimes it's more risky with more also benefits, and sometimes it's less risky, like conservative innovation, but you have to innovate, I guess, right? And as Gregory de Werp from NOAA told me once, we have to remind that there is a bigger cost associated with the cost of innovating, which is the cost of not innovating, because then the building is obsolete by design, and so it loses all of the value. So to finish this long talk, and I will sit down to say this because it's painful, or it's actually hopeful. So the moments this year that I was like the most darkest moments this year, where I was really without hope, where I was really like about to drop everything. It's too hard, you know, let's stop it. I was one connection away to relighten my internal fire. And so I met this one guy that really like sparkled the energy, that relighted my internal fire, that reminded me that every single of us is actually full of potential, like nothing can stop us if we are rightly motivated. And so this re-strengthened my conviction, deep conviction, that when you gather the right people in the same room, magic can really happen. So when you connect the right people, you can have a huge impact. So what we do at PropTech Lab, if we do it well, is really like huge value. And so this is why we decided to start PropTech Lab with a new dimension that we will announce a little bit later tonight. So connection do matter. That was my part. Thank you.